So let's say I were going for Prime Minister, right? So these are the kind of things that I'd be looking to do immediately, and that is, I'd suspend the ECHR, so the European Covenant on Human Rights, immediately. That would be suspended. And then invest, but you just suspend that because it would ultimately have to go, because that's what stops us having control of our borders and a lot of other things, human rights kind of things that we wouldn't accept as a human right. If you're going to be an arsehole, if you're coming in here, you're going to play subterfuge. You know what I'm saying? No, there's no. You've lost your human rights. You're illegal, so you haven't earned them yet. You know. But more importantly, if you've come in here to start causing problems, no. So that'll be the first thing I do. I'd suspend all the sanctions against Russia from this country immediately, because the role of the government is to work in the favour, because they're the trustees of the realm and they have to work always to benefit the realm. Of course, the realm that they're benefiting now as these trustees isn't our realm, because they don't tell you that. It's the corporate realm, the shadows, the Supreme Court, the bankrupt government corporation, etc., etc. The DWP instead of the Department of Social Security, Health and Social Security, which still exists. And see, this is another thing as well that we'll get into this another time. But the old departments exist, and there's a politician liable for everything, the offshoots, the like DWP, DVLA, because that's another corporate offshoot, Department of Transport. They're actually still responsible for it. Now, we did get into it a little bit earlier in the year, but then obviously we didn't pursue it. But these are the sort of things that we need to consider. That the actual Department of State still exists, and there's a guy there liable. So rather than it's in DWP playing in the FOI and all that shindig, go direct to that. But again, this is the important part with this, and this is where it gets exciting when you start getting into that shenanigans. There's different offices that they obfuscate, and until you get the right one, you can't serve the correct thing. I think that's why we left it off, actually, because we'd come to that conclusion and realised it was going to be quite a big do to sort of get our act together and start pissing down that leg. But that ultimately is the way to go about it if you want to get some kind of action. You want to hold people liable, then rather than play with the nonsense DWP, DVLA, just go to Department of Transport, Department for Health and Social Security, as it used to be. And then you're eating Whitehall, because of course you've got to remember these Whitehall shitbags, they stay there forever. I mean, we could still have people in Whitehall running show that we're alive in Second World War. You know, they still think they're under Bomber Harris. But you know what I'm saying? And you watch the auditors, all these militia auditors we've got all over the country. The police are really shitting themselves now because they know there's drones going up, all sorts. And, you know, these auditors are really showing you that this foreign force on the land, the police, are nearly now starting to explain that with you when they say you're on private property. Yeah? You only fund them by what, 12-15% is it on council tax? You with me? So these are the important things that need to be addressed. So this is the way the thought patterns have to go. Forget the lower ranking corporate charitable governance trusts everywhere, because you're just going to get wrapped up. You might as well go to the magistrates court. You might as well go into the state, into Whitehall, look for the actual departments are actually operating for, yeah? And then you start to, it makes sense then. And we should have continued that, but I know we're all busy. Everybody's got things to do, and it would take some serious play finding the correct office. So yeah, that's another, went off track there. I don't know what we're actually talking about. Right. Let's have a look. Oh, of course, yeah, PESCO. Yeah. So whoever's coming in, Boris and now then, that's an interesting one, isn't it? I've not thought of that. That's interesting because we're still tied to ECHR, right? Because the Supreme Court, which is pretending to be the King's Bench, stopped him from proroguing Parliament. And this little shitbag has signed up to us to PESCO. The two being the main ones is militarily and also financial. So obviously they'd wake up the sheeple, wouldn't it, if they went finance. Said, oh, you're all at Euro tomorrow. There'd be riots. You know what I'm saying? But that, now how clever is that? Now, is that the ruse? I will bet you $1 that is exactly what this little ruse has been about. If Boris gets back in, or Boris is Chancellor, because they only need him as Chancellor. I think they probably need him more as Prime Minister because he's so slick at dealing with this but more importantly, back end with all these big BlackRock, Marshall Wace, or all these big corporate monsters, Oracle, that these billionaires control, all out of Adelphi House, which is the John Adams Street gang, which I've put up many times for you to look at. Yeah, that is exactly, yeah. So, if Boris gets back in, because he's the Brexit man, we're still in ECHR, and now this Truss woman's put us on PESCO. How clever. So instead of going into Brexit, we've moved back a shot. And Boris is innocent. Boris the bombshell, the Jedi Knight, is innocent. Oh my word. See how clever we are. We all think together and just excellent, Paul, that, because I'm not even into my head. That is absolutely super there. Yeah, Truss signs into PESCO. Troops now under EU control. Exactly. Are they not all claims? Well, of course they are. Absolutely. But, I mean, there are some in there that probably ain't shock of their life. But the whip system just prevents anybody. You see, the problem is, so that's another point that this guy made, this journalist, about why our political system has been co-opted by the billionaires. And let's just think back to when we were kids. There were a massive Labour Party movement, paying money, into the Labour Party. There were a massive Conservative political party, everybody putting money in. Nobody gives a shit anymore. Nobody's a part of a political party anymore. Where do they get the money from? Now, this is where James Goldsmith, moving on to Farage, this is where the play were coming in relation to starting to dismantle the Conservative massive while controlling the Eurosceptics. And this were pulled together by a Schofield Bible note-believing priesthood member called Eric Beckoff. Who we outed and exposed quite well way back in the day. And surprise, surprise, Cameron, because we weren't expecting this. We'd done that years before. Maybe not years before, a couple of years before. Cameron's 2010 conference, and at the end of it, he's bigging up this guy. And who, without this guy, there would be no Conservative Party. And we'd been looking into this Harry Beckoff because he was controlling the UKIP massive. He were handling Farage. He were at Bletchley House and all that. But this guy were a Russian, German, Jewish guy. Yeah, let's just say that he acknowledged our efforts as being correct, let's put it that way. He did give us the nod and the wink, which they do, these guys. You know what I mean? If you out them and they'll play. You have options. Either people, as much as it berates me to say it, if we don't get involved, billionaires control it. Do you know what I'm saying? It's a bit of a catch-22, isn't it? Our system's there. They're going to do away with the monarch if they can, as far as upholding England. This is a time where we need to... It's a make or break, really, isn't it? If people can't be asked and they just want to sit down, watch telly, go shop, get back quick so they can sit down and watch telly, make tea, sit down quick so they can watch telly, make a brew, sit down quick, have a look on Facebook, sit and then go to bed, get up, quick go to the shop, we forgot, watch telly. Now, if that's your life, then the reason why we're in this mess is because of that. So it's that's going to have to change, isn't it? Everybody's arguing up to, oh, well, they need to do this and they need to do that, they must change it. Well, really, the change that needs to occur is that we start to actually give a shit. You know, you've got Reform out there. They're a political party. I don't know much about them, but I do have a colleague who is on board with Reform. As I said, I'm not promoting anybody here, but you've got all these various, this independent kind of stuff. I mean, if you're going as independent, surely the whip system can't affect you. Surely not. How can a whip system affect an independent? I would be interesting to look at. So maybe independence could be the way, and start pulling us back to representing our borough. Because until we do that, you're not going to untie the financial side of things, where local collects local taxes for local stuff. Like Ironburn, for instance, it's not a huge place. It's a mix of Accrington, Rishton, Great Harwood, Clayton, Baxenden, and Aslington, and Oswaldtwistle. And so that mix there makes up what they call Ironburn Council. Ironburn Council pull in £47 million per year just on council tax. You'll be lucky if they spend £2 million on you. They probably pull another £4 million for their own salaries at the executive. And the councillors are a complete and utter waste of shit. And the only ones that have a bit of snouse about them are already edged up the arses of the local networks, i.e. Labour Massive, which is Jack Straw, or the Conservatives. I don't know actually who does run them round here, to be honest. But that's pretty much it. And they just shut up and do what they're told. They don't actually do it. There's no function really, apart from getting in paper and looking good with a shovel, picking dog shit up and moaning about litter and moaning and pretty much moaning. In fact, if you're looking at it, the councillors actually do the moaning, but they don't actually do any effort. Have you noticed that? They've actually become the group mourners for you. Yeah. So, you know, if we don't start looking at it like that and start going, hey, come here, you little bugger, what the hell are you playing at? You know, give them a... Is it going to change? No, we're just going to have to sit back and watch this theatre at the top, right back down to your local. But 47 million I've been collecting council tax. And I'll bet they're not paying 2 million back in on the actual population. 47 million quid. I could do a lot in this town. With 47 million quid, I can assure you. And not only that, I'd employ everybody local. So all these roads would get fixed and there'd be local lads employed doing it. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah? It's just ridiculous. So, suspensions against the sanctions of Russia, I'd do that immediately, because that's not serving the country. Job of the government is to benefit the realm. Sanctioning Russia is clearly not benefiting the realm, is it? I'd suspend the ascension of Charles Windsor with immediate effect. Immediate effect. I would seize all the property of the Church of England and place it in a trust. Right? Because the Church of England shouldn't own anything on this land. Especially now we can see that it's only in order it can hand it straight through to the Vatican Bank. So that'd get seized immediately, and I'd open an full investigation into the Church of England hierarchy, present and past. Alright? Immediate effect. Full-blown investigation into the church hierarchy. I'd investigate the real authority of Parliament, not according to their own fantasy, but according to law, because they're not sovereign. They've never been sovereign. The only sovereignty afforded in this nation is to the office of monarch. And we afford it that sovereignty in order it acts within the realm and nothing else. If it's not acting within the realm, it hasn't got our sovereignty. It's treason. Yeah? I'd seize all Vatican property on these islands and place that into a trust as well, with immediate effect. Political correctness would be abolished with immediate effect in the schools, in politics. So political correctness would be abolished in the schools, in the politics, in the police, and in the military. 100% absolute, and this nation, the military would go back to its system, 1987, because that's when they started to change it. 1987, 88, that's when they started. So the military would go right back to its protocols of 1987 in an instant. Reintroduce the IQ levels for police. The police and college would be under investigation because we know through questions we've asked that they don't teach the police the difference between man and person. They're not teaching them this. Alright, they're liable for that. That's treason. Yeah, because they're being taught contrary to the realm. All paperwork issued to immigrants for the last 30 years, maybe, would be revoked with immediate effect. Okay? You come in here illegal, you've already broke the main rule. So all paperwork that's been given by the private corporation, the police, which is what your auditors need to crack on with. Listen, when they're asking you what you're doing, just say, oh, well, we've realised that we have a duty to service law, and we've also realised that you are actually a foreign entity, a private corporation on the land of England. The 9 principles of law enforcement have us duty bound to investigate you and see if we need to enforce law against you. Because that is the real situation when it comes to police. They're only there for the service of law, in spite of policy and in spite of public opinion. The reinstitution of mints here on these lands and the suspension of all contracts with the Bank of England. So that's what I'd be looking to do. And a complete and utter full investigation into corporate education and all the governors and head teachers since 1997. And that would be a criminal investigation for child abuse, for sexually abusing children, yeah, from preventing parents or mother and father from getting information, for teaching the teaching staff to lie and cover for the operations of the heads and the governors. So that would go right back to 1997, that, and it would be a criminal investigation. So you're looking at prison for these people, without a shadow of a doubt, because this is what they've done. And I'd launch an immediate investigation into the council tax accounting from the day it began. We want a full audit on every bit of paperwork that's existed in relation to council tax. I'd suspend the contracts to the housing associations with immediate effect to fully investigate the initial contracts or the deeds that were set up when they took our properties in trust. Because I know that far from benefiting the realm and its people, they're being used in order to furnish the refugees and immigrants, as so named, against the actual population of these isles. So all the board members, from the moment they gained the trust status, past and present, will be immediately investigated. All assets will be frozen. Again, put into a trust, ultimately, for these trusts to come back into the domestic system. So these are the kind of points that if I were putting myself up as a politico that I would be offering to the people as a promise that that is exactly what I'd do, and I'd use the English realm and law to authorise that, meaning all bets are off. No contracts are valid, they're all void that they have currently with all these central banking creditor systems. You know? So that's the kind of stuff so if somebody wanted me to join a political party, that's the kind of stuff you'd have to be talking. Because otherwise, you're just pissing in the same pot as the rest of them and swimming around like goggly-eyed goldfish, going to get nowhere, basically. Now, you put that into the mix as a real political mandate, and I think it'll start to wake people up to that kind of data because they're not getting it from anywhere else. So that's just an insight into the kind of stuff I'd be doing. Have a good week, folks. Till the next time.